Continuing with our series on low and mid-level robot vacuums, we are reviewing the Samsung Powerbot R7040. We put it through a lot of tests, and this video will be the results and our review. Links in the description for current prices on the R7040, as well as links to our reviews on other robot vacuums in this series, and let's get started. First, let's look at the pros. The Samsung R7040 is the budget version of the Wi-Fi enabled Powerbots from Samsung, but it has some hardware and some features that you typically only see on high-end robot vacuums. For example, it has a camera and a suite of front-mounted sensors that combine to make it really advanced when it comes to navigation. More than half of the robot vacuums we're testing in this price range are dumb navigation bots, meaning they randomly bounce around to clean your home. But the R7040 cleans in efficient, straight lines, which saves a lot of time and battery life. It was particularly methodical, and it did indeed cover the entire area, even in the obstacle course, with no major missed spots. Its full-view sensors also did a good job of reducing the force in which it bumps into things, but there were instances where it couldn't see things outside of its sensor's range, and it did bump into them harder. In general, I would have to say that so far the Samsung R7040 is the best budget robot we've tested yet with regard to navigation and its obstacle avoidance algorithm, but it might have competition with the next one up in this series. Another pro is its mechanics. It has a front-mounted super wide brush roll, which gives it a very large cleaning path width. It doesn't have a side brush, but instead uses its D shape and its very interesting so-called Edge Clean Master to clean edges, which is a rubber blade that extends to clean corners. I should mention that in our edge cleaning test, it didn't do that great. This is probably due to our test floor having a quarter-round molding instead of a 90-degree angle, so that's something to keep in mind. Another pro is that it's so far the only vacuum we have tested that had its exhaust on the top, meaning that it doesn't blow around light debris like pet hair on hard floors like so many others do. This, combined with not having an edge cleaning brush, which tends to scatter debris around, makes the Powerbot one of the least messy robot vacuums in terms of its cleaning. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's more rare than you might think. It also comes with a really handy remote control as well as the mobile app. I actually prefer using the remote for basic tasks like starting and stopping, changing power modes, or selecting the spot clean mode, which causes the bot to clean in a spiral pattern wherever you place it. You can also use either the remote or the app to control it much like a remote control car, which is pretty cool. The app is needed for scheduling cleanings or checking the history or the maps of where it cleaned that day. The next few things are not really pros or cons, they're just kind of neutral. The power was about average. As the budget version, it's the only Powerbot in the 7000 series to have 10 watts instead of 20 watts. We measured its airflow and found that it had 9 CFM on low power and 11 CFM on high power. So it's not great, but it's not bad either. For comparison, the budget Roomba, the 690, only had 7 CFM on its 1 power setting. So if you look at it that way, the R7040 is more powerful than the equivalent Roomba, even on its low power. But despite having just average power, it actually did much better than average on the crevice pickup test, which I chalk up to a well-designed seal on the brush surface. Its pickup ability on carpet was about average. It picked up all the debris from fine debris to pet hair and even extra large debris with no issues. I did find that on high power it was better, but not much of a difference, as even in low power it picked up all the debris. On hard floors there are a few things to note. While it also picked up all the debris in its low power setting, I found that there were tiny bits of debris left. On high power it did a lot better, so I would say that on hard floors high power is the setting to use. Another issue with hard floors is that because the Samsung Powerbots ride a little lower to the ground than most robots, they struggle with extra large debris like the Fruit Loops in our test or the large clumps of pet hair. It's not a deal breaker since it's only rarely going to be an issue in the real world, but the Samsung Powerbot was not as good as the others we have tested in this regard. Its battery life is 60 minutes on low power, but we tested it at only 40 minutes on high power, which is the lowest amount I've seen so far. But the silver lining is that because it's a smart navigation bot with a camera, it has recharge and resume. So when its battery life is low, it returns to the base to charge and then starts again where it left off. So effectively the battery life is irrelevant, or at least much less important than with a random navigation bot where you need a lot more battery life to ensure it cleans the whole house. Moving on to the cons. The dust bin is pretty small at 0.3 liters, though we measured it at 2 cups, which is actually not that bad, double the size of the Roomba 690 for example. But the real con here is that you have to basically take the entire mechanism apart to empty it. It's not a huge deal or anything, but it seems like an unnecessary hassle. It may be a little unfair to call out its carpet deep cleaning ability since robot vacuums are bad at this across the board, but in our embedded sand in the carpet test it only scored 64%. Again, not as bad as the Roomba 690, but pretty close. It's also probably not fair to point out that it can't clean black carpet because almost no robot vacuums can, as their cliff detection sensors think it's a drop-off, but there it is. At 3.8 inches, it's a little too tall to get under too many couches or other furniture, which is too bad as having a robot that can clean under things like couches is one of the great reasons to own one. It also doesn't come with any barrier features on the app, and it doesn't include any physical barriers like magnetic tape or a virtual wall barrier in the box. Not a lot of people use them, but if you had an area that you didn't want the robot to go, that you couldn't block off by other means, it could be an issue. So on the plus side, the Samsung Powerbot R7040 is one of the cheapest camera-equipped smart navigation robots you can buy, and its navigation and sensors are one of the most high-tech I've seen. It has some good, really groundbreaking features, it has good cleaning mechanics and decent power, but it's not without its quirks. All in all, I think the R7040 is a good deal at the price, but I suspect the next vacuum in our series will have it beat in several ways, so be sure to subscribe to Vacuum Wars for that video coming up in a few days. Links in the description for current prices, and consider a like if this video helped you out. New videos every Tuesday and Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, and thanks for watching.